Known for his sweeping melodies and virtuosic technique, Sergei Rachmaninoff is considered by many to be one of the greatest pianists and composers of the late Romantic era. His music evokes a deep sense of meaning, nostalgia, and grandeur. In fact, very few composers have been able to capture the depths of human emotion quite like he has. But behind the beauty lies a story of struggle, exile, redemption, and a relentless pursuit of musical perfection. Sergei Vasilyevich Rachmaninoff was born into an aristocratic family on April 1, 1873, in the small town of Semyonovo in the Russian Empire. Growing up on a sprawling family estate, his early years were filled with music, as both his mother and father, as well as his grandfather, played the piano. However, financial mismanagement led to his father having to sell off each of the 5 family estates one by one. And when the last estate in Onyeg was auctioned off in 1882, the family relocated to a much smaller residence in St. Petersburg, Russia. This drastic loss shattered the family's stability. His parents' struggles and eventual separation shaped his childhood, creating an early sense of melancholy that would later be reflected in his music. Despite hardship, Rachmaninoff's talent was undeniable. In 1883, at just 10 years old, his mother enrolled him at the St. Petersburg Conservatory. However, discipline was not Sergei's strong suit, and his carefree attitude caused him to struggle academically. Luckily, a move to Moscow would change his life forever. He enrolled in the Moscow Conservatory, where he was placed under the guidance of composer Nikolai Zyev and pianist Alexander Siloti, both students of Franz Liszt. Here, Rachmaninoff's talents flourished as he honed his compositional skills and virtuosic technique. By the age of 19, he had composed his first piano concerto. In 1892, 9 years after his enrollment, he graduated with the highest honors in piano and composition, earning the prestigious Great Gold Medal. That very same year, 19-year-old Rachmaninoff found immediate success. His prelude in C-sharp minor, with its haunting melody and brooding thunderous chords, captivated audiences, gained him international recognition, and quickly became one of his signature pieces. In fact, it was so popular that he actually grew frustrated by the constant demand to perform it. But just as his career was starting to take off, Rachmaninoff was met with a devastating setback. When his Symphony No. 1 premiered in St. Petersburg in 1897, it was a complete disaster. Under-rehearsed and poorly conducted, the performance was an utter embarrassment. Critics brutally attacked the piece and the performance, sending Rachmaninoff into a deep depression. This experience would cause a creative block that lasted several years. In the year 1900, 3 years after the disastrous premiere of Symphony No. 1, Rachmaninoff would seek the help of psychiatrist Nikolai Dahl. The two would see each other on a near-daily basis between the months of January and April. And through a combination of hypnosis, psychotherapy, and positive reinforcement, Dr. Dahl helped Rachmaninoff regain his confidence and overcome his creative block. Shortly after, he would compose one of his greatest works, the Piano Concerto No. 2. Dedicated to Dr. Dahl, its premiere in 1901 was a resounding success. Its soaring melodies, lush harmonies, and technical brilliance proved to be an instant masterpiece and cemented Rachmaninoff's place as one of Russia's greatest composers. Beyond composing, Rachmaninoff was an extraordinary pianist, renowned for his large hands and impeccable technique. Regarded as one of the most technically challenging pieces in the piano repertoire, his Piano Concerto No. 3 showcases his signature rich harmonies and virtuosic demands. Nicknamed the Rock 3, this concerto is among his most celebrated compositions. Rhapsody on a Theme of Paganini is particularly famous for its 18th variation, a sweeping, heart-rending melody that remains one of the most recognizable in classical music. Another masterpiece, Symphony No. 2, was a triumphant return to the symphonic form, featuring lush orchestrations and deeply expressive themes. The Adagio movement in particular has become one of his most celebrated works, evoking a profound sense of romance and nostalgia. In 1917, political unrest in Russia sparked a revolution that caused Rachmaninoff and his family to flee his beloved homeland. He settled in the United States, where he reinvented himself as a concert pianist to support his family. Despite longing for his homeland, he never returned to Russia, and his music often reflected a deep sense of nostalgia and melancholy. Even in exile, his performances were legendary. He played in the finest concert halls, admired for his technical mastery and profound musicality. But despite his success in America, Rachmaninoff longed for a place to call home. He eventually purchased a villa in Switzerland, where he would spend the summer months between 1932 and 1939. Here, he composed some of his final masterpieces. For Rachmaninoff, the tranquility of the Swiss countryside provided inspiration, though he still felt the weight of exile. By the early 1940s, Rachmaninoff's health began to rapidly decline. On March 28, 1943, just days before his 70th birthday, he lost his battle with malignant melanoma and lung cancer and passed away in Beverly Hills, California. Though he found success in the West, his heart always belonged to Russia. His dying wish was to be buried in his homeland, but due to wartime circumstances, he was laid to rest at Kensington Cemetery in New York. Even in death, his influence endures. His music continues to be performed by the world's greatest pianists and orchestras, revered for its emotional depth, technical demands, and breathtaking beauty. One of the last great romantics, Sergei Rachmaninoff's music is filled with a longing and a passion that speaks directly from the heart of Russia.